Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Today is May 22nd, and in today's screencast video, we're going to go over pages 6 and 7. And this will be a shorter screencast because I'm just going to give you an introduction and a quick example overview of one part of this activity. We're going to learn about some of the characteristics of the Renaissance by using some examples. So after you are done watching this screencast video lesson, there is also a set of review questions on a Google form that I would like you to submit. But before you do that Google form review questions, please use the absentee or answer key slides, as I'm now calling them, that is also posted to this assignment post on Classroom. Make sure that your packet is complete and all caught up before you do those questions. And remember, you can use your packet for those questions, of course. So your assignment task that needs to be submitted today are those review questions after we're caught up on our packet pages. And also, I want to make sure that you guys know that today is, or this weekend is Memorial Day weekend. So Monday being Memorial Day, we do not have any school. So take that time to maybe relax or, as an off school day to catch up on any work if you're behind a little bit, and enjoy that weekend. And I will see you guys back here on Tuesday. So let's go over to our packet pages. Okay, so before I give you an overview of pages 6 to 7, what we've done so far in this unit is we've identified and defined what Renaissance means. It's a rebirth of a cultural movement and then some old ideas. We also found out that this rebirth is kind of discovered and starts in Italy because of their location on trade routes, where that knowledge, those old ancient classical ideas from the Greco-Roman times were preserved by the Islamic civilizations in the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was around at the same time that Italy starts to trade more with them after the Crusades. So we learned a little bit about why that sets up the beginning of the Renaissance in Italy. But today we're going to go over some more characteristics to see what the Renaissance would actually look like. There's more to it than just the Greek and Roman, revival of their art and architecture. There's other ideas and other ways that this rebirth and shift of focus is happening in the Renaissance. So on pages 6 and 7, we're going to do this activity called Characteristics of the Renaissance. And that's our question for today. What were some of the characteristics of the Renaissance period? We're going to examine some Renaissance examples in order to identify those characteristics. So this is a 2-page activity. On the first page, we have some characteristics of the Renaissance described. I want you guys to take a moment to read over these very thoroughly on your own. In just a moment, I'm going to give you a little brief overview of them, but everything is bolded here for you to help you understand a little bit deeper. And knowing these concepts are going to be very important to help you on the task on the next page. So let's go over these together. The first characteristic of the Renaissance we're calling Greek and Roman influence. So of course, in our definition, we had said that this rebirth, this rediscovery of old cultural movements and ideas was mostly focused on rediscovering the Greek and Roman writings and looking at their art and architectural styles. But there's some other characteristics and other sets of knowledge that come about during the Renaissance as well. And one of them is called humanism. So any class that you take that is a social studies class, a philosophy class, even poetry, grammar, or literature, we call those liberal arts today. A lot of people will go to a liberal arts college where you study those kinds of those degrees and those fields of study. So this is called the humanities. This is a different section of academic classes than if you were to take a math or a science or even like a tech and engineering career path. So in addition to humanism, number 3 is the characteristic of emphasizing the individual. People in the Renaissance started to celebrate individuals more for their achievements. And some of these very famous individuals we're calling Renaissance men. Mostly men, again, at this time in history, especially probably the most famous one being Leonardo da Vinci, that we'll see in our examples in just a moment, was an incredibly well-rounded and multi-versed sculptor, inventor, painter, writer. He had abilities in many, many fields of study. So we call him a Renaissance man. And the last characteristic, number 4, is celebration of secular achievements. So there's a new term for us, secular. Secular basically means non-religious. So remember, during the Middle Ages, Europeans were very concerned with their faith, with the Christian religion. During the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church had an incredible amount of control and influence over people's lives. Almost every decision, every aspect of someone's life, was shaped by what the church was interpreting for them and, controlling their hope to eventually get into heaven someday. So now that the Middle Ages are kind of ending and we're shifting our focus to more academic, areas that the Greeks and Romans studied, the shift starts to go away from religious-only areas to also non-religious areas or secular areas. So there's going to be a rediscovering and a shift in focus to more academic studies, to artistic studies, and even studying, political and philosophical areas as well. So take a moment and pause here and read over this set of 4 characteristics a little bit closer so that you have a good idea of what these terms mean. Okay, so this is the second part of our task today. We're going to examine the text and images for each of these Renaissance examples, and I'll click here on this link to show you our documents, basically, those examples that we're going to look at. After you study these examples, I want you to refer back to the characteristics of the Renaissance on this page. These are basically the 4 characteristics that we're going to have to match up to each example that we look at. We're going to check off which characteristics are found in the example in the table below and write down evidence from that example that supports our decision to check off that characteristic. So what is this going to look like? I know that's kind of a heavy set of directions. So on the right, I have an example for you that I'll kind of go through this with you. And it's actually filled out right here so that you guys can, get a little head start. So on this table, there are 5 examples. And these are going to be sculpted pieces, paintings, pieces of architecture that we'll see in this link up here in just a second. But the way that I want you to fill out this table is that each of these examples is on a row of its own. And I want you to be checking off which characteristic of the Renaissance is represented by this Renaissance example or this piece of art or architecture that we're going to look at. So for an example, we're going to take a look at the School of Athens. This is a painting by Raphael, a Renaissance man, a Renaissance painter. And this is how you would complete this first example. So first we're going to go and click our slides that show us the Renaissance examples. And each of these pages has a little bit of text and some visuals that show you examples of the Renaissance. First one is Brunelleschi's Dome. Renaissance example number 2 is a brief biography of Leon Battista Alberti. And then this is the one that I want to show you and place on our chart together. Renaissance example number 3. So this is a painting by Raphael called The School of Athens. Let's make this a little bit bigger if we can. Okay. So for each of these examples, read through the information on the top and then examine with reading the caption below to understand a little bit about what is in this Renaissance example. So this is how we would go through this. The Catholic Church commissioned Raphael to paint a room in the Vatican, the city in which the Pope lives and where the Church is centered. He painted both religious and secular, meaning non-religious scenes. This painting down here, the School of Athens, is one of the secular scenes in which Raphael depicts Greek and Roman philosophers that Renaissance writers studied. He also painted himself into the scene. Here he is right here over to the side. Raphael uses the perspective drawing that Alberti wrote about in his book called On Painting and depicts the philosophers realistically. He based them on real people, including the artists he looked up to, like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. So in this painting, we not only see Raphael painted himself in here, but some of these names are probably familiar. Plato, Aristotle, maybe even Euclid, Pythagoras, the mathematician. Some of those names we have seen in our Golden Age of Athens activity earlier in the year. So we would take this Renaissance example number 3, the School of Athens, and we would want to go to our row and think about which characteristic from the last page, these 4 up on the top, that is represented in that example. Now, some of these examples are going to be characteristic of multiple parts of the Renaissance. So the School of Athens, one thing that we can see that this matches up to is that it has, it's showing us Greek and Roman influence. So I want you guys to put a little bit of a check mark, whether it's a slash or an X. You can simply just click on this little gray area, type in a little X, and that's how you check off that that is one of the characteristics that's being shown in this example. And for the School of Athens painting, it is matching up to Greek and Roman influence because this painting, being called the School of Athens, should remind us of the ancient Greek city-state of Athens. And even some of the figures like Pythagoras and Euclid and Aristotle and Plato were Greek philosophers that we had studied during the Golden Age of Athens. So this is the 2 tasks that I want you guys to do when you are completing this table. Simply putting a little check up here for any of the characteristics as you go across each example, and then just writing a very short, quick little explanation of why you put it in that category. It's a little bit like our Golden Age activities that we did. All right, so I'm going to give you guys some time to do this on your own. I do want to also point out, and here's my slide that will go up on the absentee slides, the answer key slides. I want you guys to try these on your own, but when you are done, or as you go through, if you really get stuck on any, after you're done examining all of them, you can use this link right here. It's not on the packet, but it is in the absentee slides that are posted to our post today. You can use the key for this table to check your responses after you attempt them on your own. Okay, guys? So I just wanted to go over an example with you to get you started. If you need more time beyond today to finish this table, as well as those review questions for our week's pages so far, that's perfectly fine. The due date of today that is going to be on the Google form is just a guideline. So take your time with this, but make sure that you are paying attention to our classroom and our Aspen tallies of your assignments so that you don't get too far behind as we go through the last, about 3.5 weeks that we have left of school now. So folks, enjoy this. Enjoy your long weekend. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to shoot me a quick email. I'll be able to get back to you usually within an hour. So have a great day, and I will see you back here on Tuesday. Enjoy Memorial Day on Monday. Bye-bye.